Space was never truly silent, not for those who had learned to listen. Beyond the Oort cloud, where the last icy sentinels of the solar system drifted, the galaxy's song could be heard in the soft pulse of subspace beacons, the whisper of navigational transmissions, the distant murmur of ships sliding between stars. For centuries, humanity had listened to that song, always straining to hear its next verse, desperate to keep pace with civilizations far older, far wiser, far more powerful. But today, humanity no longer listened. Today, it spoke. A signal blazed outward from thousands of relay stations scattered across the edge of Terran-controlled space. The message cut across every channel, every frequency, every known language of the major powers. This is Terran space. All entry points are sealed. Passage is forbidden. No diplomatic clearance will be given, no trade lanes will be opened, no exceptions will be made. Trespass will be met with force. The Terran kingdom stands eternal. The words repeated, cold and absolute, until even the most distant listening posts in the Galactic Rim received them. No negotiations. No explanations. No second chances. The galaxy, once deafening with chatter, fell into an uncanny quiet. Admiral Kalen Vire stood with his hands clasped behind his back on the bridge of the Resolute Dawn, flagship of the Terran Strategic Defense Fleet. His gray eyes were fixed on the massive holographic star map projected before him, its glowing lines outlining the vast shell of space now marked under Terran control. 35,000 inhabited worlds. Dozens of megastructures. 1,000 carrier groups stationed like steel guardians along the perimeter. For the first time in living memory, every gate was closed. His second-in-command, Commander Reyes, stepped up beside him. "Signal confirmation has come in from the last sector," she said quietly. "All beacons are synchronized. The message has been received." Kalen gave a small nod, the only sign of acknowledgement. His jaw was set like iron. "They will test us," he said. Reyes did not argue. The galaxy always tested the bold. Already, reports were coming in from the Velan Corridor, the most important hyperlane connecting Terran space to the galactic core. A Shryak scout frigate had attempted to slip through mere hours after the proclamation went live. Whether it was a deliberate challenge or simply a delayed merchant courier didn't matter. It was caught. With quiet, lethal precision, a Terran gravity net had seized the vessel before it could even complete its jump sequence. The ship's engines were disabled, its weapons disarmed, its crew detained and escorted beyond the borders. No shots were fired. No lives were lost. And yet the message had been clearer than any barrage of weapons fire. Humanity meant every word. On the galactic networks, panic and speculation ran wild. News hosts with feathered crests, scaled jaws, or mirrored eyes shouted over each other, each offering their theories. Humans have shut themselves in. This is an act of retreat, perhaps they are collapsing under internal conflict. No, this is the beginning of expansionism. Mark my words, they are fortifying to strike. This will disrupt major trade routes across 5 sectors. Do they understand the economic catastrophe they have unleashed? But behind closed doors, in the shadowed courts of alien power, the tone was far less frantic and far more sober. The Drazari Concilium whispered of Terran military growth, of shipyards that had gone dark yet launched entire carrier groups a year later. The Xor Hive Queens recalled with unease the last war with Earth and how it had ended with the Hive sued for peace, their fleets shattered. The venerable Sil emissaries debated whether the youngling species had just crowned themselves kings over a kingdom none had given them. And in the grand chamber of the Terran High Council, the truth was spoken aloud. Chancellor Marin Holt stood at the center of the Hall of Unity, her voice echoing beneath the vast dome. Delegates from every Terran world were present, some in person, others as shimmering hollow avatars. Admirals, governors, scientists, philosophers, all had been summoned to witness the turning of an age. "Our ancestors once feared the dark between the stars," Holt began. Her voice was calm but carried the weight of command. "They feared extinction, feared irrelevance, feared becoming footnotes in a galaxy ruled by others." She let the silence linger before continuing, her words gathering strength like a rising tide. "But we faced every threat that came to break us. Alien fleets have burned our colonies and we rebuilt them. Plagues have swept across our worlds, and we cured them. We were told we were too young, too reckless, too fragile to claim a place among the stars, and yet here we stand, unbroken, undiminished. The delegates stirred, a rumble of agreement passing through the chamber. We no longer beg for recognition. We no longer barter for scraps. We have built something greater than any one world, any one fleet, any one generation. Today, we draw a line across the stars, and we say to the galaxy, this is ours. Our homes. Our families. Our future. And they will not be taken. Her hand swept outward, summoning a star map that mirrored the one on Kalen's bridge. It glowed brilliantly, every Terran system marked with a bright silver light. Terran space shall never again be divided, sold, or surrendered. We are no longer petitioners at the gates of the cosmos. We are its keepers. The eternal kingdom of man has been declared. Thunderous applause shook the chamber. Delegates stood, fists raised, voices shouting their agreement. The roar of unity spread across the chamber like a storm, until even those watching from remote colonies joined in through the commnet. Back on the Resolute Dawn, Kalen watched the transmission in silence, his expression unreadable. Around him, his bridge crew stood straighter, their faces lit by the star map's glow. He could feel it in the air, a gravity, a sense that something greater than orders or duty had taken hold of them all. The galaxy had always seen humanity as restless, always striving, never satisfied. But now, Kalen thought, they would see humanity as something else entirely. Not a species clawing for survival. Not a coalition seeking permission. But a people who had claimed their destiny and dared the stars to challenge them. As the broadcast ended, Kalen gave a single, sharp order. Double patrols on all border corridors. Any incursion is to be intercepted immediately. No hesitation. Yes, Admiral, came the unified reply. The bridge lights dimmed to red alert standby, and the Resolute Dawn turned toward the border like a predator watching its territory. Far beyond its hull, the new Terran signal pulsed again, rippling across subspace. This is Terran space. Off limits. Eternal. And in the distant capitals of alien empires, fear settled like frost. The galaxy had wanted to know how far humanity would go. Now, it had its answer. 3 months after the proclamation, the challenge came. Admiral Kalen Vire stood on the Resolute Dawn's observation deck, its wide glass canopy framing the stars like distant lanterns. The warship was stationed in the Velan Corridor, a narrow but crucial hyperlane that had once served as the artery of galactic trade, connecting Terran space to the coreward routes. Now it was quiet, patrolled and fortified, its jump points covered by gravity wells and strike wings lying in wait. Kalen's hand rested on the railing as the red alert strobes pulsed through the ship, painting the deck in a heartbeat rhythm. His officers worked quickly at their stations, their voices sharp but controlled. Contact confirmed, Admiral, Commander Reyes reported, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. 3 ships have breached the exclusion zone, Sarti hull signatures. 1 battle carrier, 2 escort cruisers. They are advancing toward the corridor at combat speed. The bridge fell silent. The Sarti Imperium was not a minor power, not a careless merchant guild. They were a militaristic star empire, one of the galaxy's oldest warrior states. For them to send a carrier group into Terran space was not a mistake. It was a statement. Kalen's jaw tightened. Signal them. Moments later, a tall, skeletal figure appeared as a hologram on the bridge. Grand Strategos Valor of the Sarti Imperium regarded Kalen with cold, predatory amusement. His armor gleamed darkly, its surface etched with ancient runes of conquest. Human, Valor said, his voice rasping like dry leaves over stone. You claim sovereignty, yet sovereignty is proven only by blood. We will pass through this corridor. Stand aside, or be removed. Kalen did not flinch. He stood as unmoving as the deck beneath him. This is Terran space, he said evenly. You will turn back. Valor's mandibles clicked together in a sound that might have been laughter. Your species is bold, he said, tilting his head. But boldness does not stop fleets. It does not break empires. You have declared yourselves kings of 1,000 suns, but you are still made of flesh. We will pass, and you will do nothing. Kalen let the silence stretch, the tension pulling taut like a drawn bowstring. When he finally spoke, his voice was iron. If you proceed, you will not leave alive. Valor's laugh was sharp, mocking. The channel cut. Seconds later, the Sarti fleet advanced. Battle stations. Kalen barked, and the bridge came alive with controlled fury. The Resolute Dawn's engines roared as the ship moved to intercept, flanked by its escort cruisers and strike wings. Gravity nets charged, Reyes reported. Drone swarms deployed. All rail batteries armed and ready. Kalen's gaze never left the tactical display. Hold fire until they cross the inner marker. Make sure the galaxy sees exactly what happens when a line is crossed. The display showed the Sarti fleet accelerating, their energy signatures burning hot as they powered weapons. The battle carrier was massive, bristling with launch bays, its escorts in tight formation on either side. To the galaxy, this was the test everyone had been waiting for. Would the Eternal Kingdom truly enforce its borders, even against a major power? The answer came as the Sarti ships crossed the marker. Engage, Kalen said. The Resolute Dawn moved like a predator striking from the dark. Gravity nets flared, dragging the Sarti formation out of its jump corridor. A ripple of kinetic fire erupted from the Terran line, rail slugs screaming across space at near relativistic speed. The first salvo ripped through the lead escort cruiser, its shields collapsing under the sudden barrage. The second salvo tore the vessel apart, scattering it into a burning debris field. Enemy formation disrupted, Reyes called. Strike wings moving in. Out in the void, Terran fighter swarms streaked toward the carrier, weaving between flak fire with impossible precision. Micro-missiles flared like a storm of shooting stars, disabling the carrier's point defense turrets one by one. The second Sarti escort turned to protect its flagship, but the Terran drone swarms were already on it, clouds of autonomous machines cutting through its hull plating with lasers and breaching charges. In less than 2 minutes, the escort was reduced to a crippled hulk, venting atmosphere into the void. Carrier powering main batteries, Reyes warned. They're going for a broadside. Kalen's voice was calm, steady. Bring the lances online. The Resolute Dawn's forward lances lit up like spears of white lightning, punching through the void. The first beam carved across the carrier's port side, cutting deep into its armor. The second and third shots struck its engines, leaving the vessel dead in space. Within 8 minutes, the battle was over. The Velan corridor was littered with drifting wreckage, but the Terran fleet remained intact, their shields barely scorched. The Sarti carrier floated powerless, its weapons dark, its engines cold. Board them, Kalen ordered. Disable what's left of their systems. Detain the crew. As boarding teams launched, Kalen opened a new channel, this one directed not just to the Sarti Imperium, but to every listening post across the galaxy. This is Admiral Kalen Vire of the Terran Strategic Defense Fleet. The Sarti Imperium violated Terran space and has been defeated. This is not war, this is enforcement. Let this stand as warning, the Eternal Kingdom does not forgive trespass. The message was repeated across every major comnet. By the time the galaxy awoke to the news, the battle footage was already circulating, grainy but undeniable. The Sarti, feared warriors of the core, had been dismantled in minutes. Panic spread like wildfire. The Joran Trade League rerouted its convoys within hours. The Zuran Ascendancy announced a complete withdrawal of its diplomats from Terran borders. Even the Xor Hives, who had fought humanity tooth and claw a generation ago, issued a rare public statement advising all hive ships to avoid Terran borders under all circumstances. In Nova Geneva, Chancellor Marin Holt stood once more before the High Council, her face calm but her words carrying the weight of thunder. This was not conquest, she declared, the speech broadcast live across 1,000 worlds. This was justice. The Sarti were offered a chance to turn back. They chose war. We chose victory. Terran space is sacred, and its borders are absolute. The Eternal Kingdom is not merely territory, it is the promise that every Terran child will grow without fear of alien rule, that no foreign fleet will ever again dictate the fate of humanity. The hall shook with applause. And far beyond, in alien courts, the applause was replaced with silence and dread. The galaxy had wanted proof of Terran resolve. Now it had it. And somewhere in the quiet of deep space, Kalen stood once more on the resolute Dawn's bridge, watching the stars. There was no pride on his face, no celebration, only the hard certainty of a man who knew this was just the beginning. "They will come again," Reyes said quietly beside him. "Yes," Kalen answered. "And next time, they'll come with more than 3 ships." He let the words hang in the air for a moment before turning back to the map, the borders glowing bright like a crown across the void. "Then we will be ready." The galaxy held its breath. Weeks passed. Then months. No one dared cross the Terran borders again. Hyperlane maps were redrawn overnight, rerouting centuries-old trade routes to avoid even the faintest brush with Terran patrol zones. Merchant guilds cursed their losses, noble houses complained to their councils, and military strategists sat in darkrooms staring at star charts, wondering how to confront a species that had just dismantled one of the Corps' most respected fleets in under 10 minutes. But the Terrans were not idle. They were building something. Deep within Terran space, near Proxima Centauri, an armada of construction ships worked tirelessly, weaving together a colossal ringworld that slowly took shape around the star. Miles-long scaffolding glittered like a necklace of diamonds against the void. Entire shipyards were dedicated to producing the segments. Habitat modules floated into position and locked into place with magnetic fields. The project had been rumored for years, dismissed as hubris by most alien observers. A ring world? The humans don't have the resources. They don't have the engineering capacity. Even if they finish it, they won't have the population to fill it. But rumor gave way to shock as the massive structure neared completion in record time. And then came the announcement. The Celestial Crown's dedication ceremony was broadcast across every Terran colony, every outpost, every fleet ship. In a chamber at the very heart of the ringworld, Chancellor Marin Holt stood beneath a vaulted dome of crystalline glass. Behind her, the light of Proxima shone like a red jewel, casting the entire hall in warm, eternal fire. Delegates from every Terran world were present: governors, admirals, scientists, philosophers, soldiers, each wearing the formal crest of their system. Marin's voice carried across the hall and across the stars. "This is the Celestial Crown," she said, her hands spread wide, her voice rising with the grandeur of the moment. "The first monument of the Eternal Kingdom. Not merely a home for billions, though it will house them. Not merely a fortress, though it will defend them. This is our throne, forged in the heart of our dominion, built not to lord over others, but to remind us that we endure." The chamber was utterly silent, every eye fixed on her. Some will call this arrogance. Some will say we have walled ourselves off from the galaxy out of fear. But we know the truth. We do not retreat, we consolidate. We do not cower, we endure. We have drawn a line across the stars not because we wish to be left alone, but because we wish to stand together. She turned, gesturing toward the great transparent wall behind her. Beyond it, the ring world stretched as far as the eye could see, glittering with city lights, its surface alive with movement even now as settlers and workers claimed its newly built districts. "This is the heart of the Eternal Kingdom. From this place, we will govern, protect, and guide. Our borders are not a cage, they are a promise. A promise that every child born under Terran suns will grow knowing that no empire will enslave them, no alien fleet will burn their homes, no outside power will dictate their destiny." Her voice hardened, her gaze becoming a spear aimed at the galaxy watching beyond their screens. "Let the galaxy take heed, Terran space will not shrink. It will not falter. It will not be bought or stolen. It will endure for as long as the stars burn. We are the keepers of our own fate. We are the Eternal Kingdom." The hall erupted. Thunderous applause shook the air as every delegate stood, raising their fists, some shouting, some weeping. Fleet officers saluted. Colonists across dozens of worlds cheered in unison. In that single moment, there was no faction, no rival government, no dissenting world, only one people, united. Admiral Kalen Vire watched the ceremony from the Resolute Dawn's command deck. The bridge was quiet, but the crew had stopped their duties to listen, transfixed by the Chancellor's words. Reyes broke the silence first. It feels different now, she said quietly. Kalen nodded slowly. Because it is. For years, humanity had been scrambling, always rushing to catch up with the galaxy's elder civilizations, fighting to be heard at the table. Now they weren't just at the table, they had claimed the head seat. This was not merely a proclamation of defense anymore. It was destiny, carved into metal and starfire. Admiral, Reyes said softly, what happens now? Kalen's gaze drifted back to the glowing border map hovering above the tactical display. The line of Terran space stretched across the void like a shining crown, a wall and a promise both. Now, Kalen said at last. Now the galaxy decides whether it fears us or follows us. And fear they did. Within the next year, the Galactic Council convened an emergency summit. The elder races debated endlessly whether to sanction Terran space, whether to form a coalition to challenge them. But in the end, no vote passed. No coalition formed. None were willing to risk becoming the next Sarti, shattered and humiliated in front of the galaxy. Eventually, the Eternal Kingdom was added to the Galactic Registry as an independent sovereign power, not as a junior member, but as an equal to the oldest empires. It was recognition, reluctant though it might have been, that humanity's claim to its territory was unassailable. The galaxy had changed forever. Decades later, the celestial crown became a symbol not just of power but of permanence. Entire generations grew up knowing no life other than the peace within Terran borders. Alien traders spoke of Terran space with awe, some with fear, some with grudging respect. But no one ever again mistook humanity for a species that could be bent, bribed, or broken. Kalen stood once more on the Resolute Dawn's observation deck, older now, his hair streaked with silver, but his posture still straight as a blade. The ship cruised along the edge of Terran space, its shields glinting with the light of a distant sun. Beyond the border, alien ships could be seen holding their positions, observing but never daring to cross. Kalen allowed himself a small, rare smile. Let them watch, he murmured. Let them fear. The kingdom is eternal. Behind him, the bridge hummed quietly, the crew at their stations, the ship steady as a rock against the tide of the void. Far across the galaxy, Terran beacons pulsed once more, their message unwavering, shining like a vow carved into the night. Terran space OFF limits. The cosmic kingdom eternal. And for the first time in the long history of the stars, no one crossed the line.